Hi, fans of high-quality entertainment. I'm ranking all of the George Harrison albums, and I am up to Living in the Material World. Now, this is probably going to be a little bit longer video. I apologize, but there is a backstory in case you haven't watched some of the other videos where I've talked about this particular album. So in the early 70s, when All Things Must Pass came out, one of my older brothers bought it. I didn't have the money to buy it, so I just heard, bits of it. I knew, of course, My Sweet Lord very well, and Isn't It a Pity, and a couple of other songs. But through the years, I never really knew the album as well as I know it now. And with Living in the Material World, when this came out, once again, I had two older brothers. The one brother, I could listen to his records, no problem. And the other brother, I could not even look at his albums. And of course, he bought this. I would hear it, Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth, the single, and I liked that. But other than that, I never knew this album for many, 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 many years, until this year. When I bought this maybe 6 weeks ago or so. And as I keep saying, I've just become a huge fan of George Harrison, his whole solo career now. Just a new respect for him also. So yeah, the first album that I really I did like some of his later albums, like 33 1/3. It was one of my favorites. But I just, I'm not familiar with this whole discography. So the first album that I really connected with, it took me over 50 years, is All Things Must Pass. And then I bought this, which, like I said, I wasn't really very familiar with, except for a couple of songs. First time I played it, I did like it, but, that was about it. Second listen, third listen, I just fell in love with this album. And I think there was a point where I was playing this, I probably played it like 10 nights in a row. That's how much I love this. I did write some notes. I don't know if I'll go through all of them, but the first song, Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth, like I said, I knew. But even though I knew it, I knew, the melody and all that. But I didn't know how, the great production of the song. The first thing I noticed with George's vocals at the start of the album is a little rougher. It's almost like he was starting to get that laryngitis that he got for the next album, Dark Horse. But still, great vocals. And I just, once again, had a new appreciation for the song. I think it's a fantastic song. And it went to #1 on the charts in the US and Canada, and as did the album. So the album did very well. I think some people look at it now as a failure, but it is hard to top All Things Must Pass. But I think he did a great job. Because, like I said, I love this album. Sue Me, Sue You Blues is a fun upbeat track with a dobro-style resonator guitar, whatever that is. And some of the players are Gary Wright, Nicky Hopkins, Klaus Vormann, and Jim Keltner. Slinky, funky, with sarcastic lyrics. I wrote that myself. Thank you. The Light That Has Lighted the World. Great slide guitar work by George and keyboards by Nicky Hopkins once again. And, it is a slow song. And that's the one thing about George's solo career is I do wish he had more rockers throughout his solo career, similar to What Is Life, or even with the Beatles' Old Brown Shoe, those kind of songs. A lot of his songs are kind of mid-paced, but still, I love them so far. All right, Don't Let Me Wait Too Long. It's an upbeat pop song with great vocals by George. And that's the one thing I noticed with this album is I think his vocals were great on All Things Must Pass, but a little bit buried in the, original Phil Spector production. And this album, they're a bit more upfront and just great vocals by George. Really impressed with them. And on this track, Gary Wright, Nicky Hopkins, Klaus Vormann, Jim Keltner, and somebody named Ringo Starr. This was interesting. During the filming of their joint appearance on Saturday Night Live, George Harrison performed Don't Let Me Wait Too Long with singer Paul Simon, but the song did not appear in the broadcast. Next song, Who Can See It? The lyrics reflect Harrison's uneasy feelings towards the Beatles' legacy, 3 years after the group's breakup, and serve as his statement of independence from expectations raised by the band's popularity. Very emotional vocals by George. His vocals, I think that's the thing, right? Getting to really listen to all of these albums is his vocals kind of get to me, the emotion in them, even on the later albums. One of my favorite songs, Living in the Material World, which I really didn't know at all. And I never knew the lyrics mentioned, John, Paul, and Ringo. Met them all there in the material world. John and Paul here in the material world. Though we started out quite poor, we got Richie on a tour. And of course, Ringo's, drumming on, he's one of the two drummers on the track. And it's, once again, a more upbeat song. And slide guitar solo by George, saxophone solo, prominent Hammond organ. Indian interludes feature flute, tabla, and a rare post-Beatle sitar contribution from Harrison. And I wrote here, fantastic vocals by George, including his falsetto, which I feel is fantastic. Might not be for everybody, but I love them. And then, I think some people about this, especially this album, maybe George gets a little too preachy, but it's what he was going through at the time. He's being real. He's talking about his life, his spirituality and all that. So I have no problem with it. Even if I disagree with anything he's singing, which I really don't, it's his songs, right? It's his life that he's singing about. So I really like that song. And yeah, once again, great slide guitar work by George. Be Here Now. It kind of similar to his work with the Beatles, the Indian-based songs that he did with the Beatles. I could see that being a Beatles song with the sitar and everything. Try Some, Buy Some. I might have heard it, but I really, it's years and years ago. So it's almost like a new song to me. And I think, once again, it's one of the highlights of the album. And I know it was originally, written for Ronnie Spector from the Ronettes. First released as a single by Ronnie Spector. Yeah, it says here, some focus on Harrison's struggle to sing in a higher key than he preferred, and view its dense production as being out of place on the album. But I disagree with that. I think it fits perfectly on the album. The Day the World Gets Round, Harrison was inspired to write the song following the successful concert for Bangladesh shows. So I just love every song on this album. And it ends with, I keep dropping this. it ends with That Is All, a slow, heavily orchestrated ballad. It is one of many Harrison love songs, and I think it's a very nice way to end the album. But, you know, I can see people, when this first came out, being a little disappointed because it's, like I said, it's either slow songs or usually mid-paced songs. There's no What Is Life or wah-wah type songs, more harder edged. But I think it's a beautiful album. I think George's vocals are fantastic on it. And in my rankings, I've really been struggling because I love this album as much as All Things Must Pass. But I am going to have it below All Things Must Pass in second place. But like I said, I feel it's as good as All Things Must Pass. Just, you know, less songs, only one album instead of, well, 3 or 2. I know that some people didn't like me including Apple Jam in my review of All Things Must Pass, but it's my choice, right? So that's it. I love this album. I will give it A+. And like I said, it's in second place, if I remember to put the text here. I would love your thoughts. And also, you know, for somebody that has not heard this album in quite a while, but thinks, oh, it wasn't very good or disappointing or mediocre or, you know, just not as good as All Things Must Pass, give it a fresh couple of listens because you might be impressed with it, because I sure was. And that's it. Next up is going to be Dark Horse. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like the video, leave a comment below, and have a great day. Bye.